Good morning everybody, Calm Biker here. I'm in a gaggle of bikes. We got Chris in front of me. We got Dave, Mr. Smith's Biking Adventures, on his new Tiger Explorer, very nice. Graham there, Chronicles of Dot, heading off on his CL500. And Jamie, no channel there, on his lovely ZX 4RR Performance Edition. There's 5 of us today, quite the group ride, and all we're going to do is a nice little ride. We've come to this part of the world, a place called Nafferton, to meet up with Chris because he lives around here, and it was about time we met near him rather than near me. But we're just going to go for a nice little ride back through Nafferton down to a place called Wansford, where there's a pretty lock on what they call the Driffield navigation. I need to get myself there and have a play on that particular bit of water, and then we're off to the coast. I'm going to take a nice run down the coast road. So this is it's a nice run anyway. It's a little bit quicker than the last time we were out as a foursome, where we had 2 bikes being running. Well, we've still got 2 bikes being running, but Jamie has now got 137 miles on his bike, so he's 13 miles away from being able to use 7,000 revs. So we thought we could use a nicer road, a little quicker road, although these ones are quite muddy still, but hopefully once we get onto those they'll be a bit cleaner and he can get to use a little bit more of his ZX 4RR. This is Wansford, and up here is Wansford Lock. It looks like they've put a Christmas tree on it. Is it a Christmas tree or is it something else? It's a little bit early for Christmas, I have to say. It's the 2nd of November today. It's a Halloween tree maybe. Yeah, it's the Wansford Lock there. This bit on the right is the Driffield navigation. You can see it better there. A bit of fun, haven't you? I think Graham spotted me. Not sure about the other 3. Well, this is nice. They seem to have resurfaced this road quite well. It's you can never really tell with a GoPro because it smooths everything out, but you can see the bike is not bouncing around in shot too much. From the usual state of this road would batter my kidneys, so I was thinking about coming this way today and if I was going to get that kind of battering, but oh, it's all nicely redone. Wonderful. It's a nice one for Jamie to have a bit of practice on. Plenty of bends to play on. Not too much traffic. Oh, there's a Mercedes that keeps trying to ride pillion with me, but that's why I'm sat here at the back. If I was out of the way, I think they'd be trying to ride pillion with Jamie. And there's nothing that shows that he's not got that much experience yet, so leave him be. I was looking at his bike and thinking, you know, I've been using Reddit quite a bit recently. I started off using it because Google search is now so appalling. It was actually Jamie said to me, if you put Reddit as the first word of a Google search, it improves it no end, because it tends to take you to somewhere that's got human-made content rather than just a lot of AI gibberish. And then I just started hanging around a little bit in there on a couple of groups to do with computers because of my job, and a couple of groups to do with motorbikes because of my hobby. And one of the little groups that I follow, the subreddits I think they call them, is Moto UK, where people go and ask questions and talk about riding motorbikes, funnily enough, in the UK. And over again you get the same question: is this a good first bike? Or what should my first bike be? And I would say, in terms of size, I think that bike that Jamie's got, pretty much bang on. 400cc. It's not an A2 bike, although I would imagine it can be restricted to B1 if, you know, for those people who are on an A2 license. But I think that's quite a good starting point, to be fair. In a way, I wish I'd started there. The licensing rules in the UK, when you do direct access as I did, kind of push you down the path of getting a 600. Now my neighbour actually did the same thing. She did her full A licence, and she was asking about what bike do you think I should get. And because she's not that tall, I was saying, yeah, maybe something like a Gladius or something like that, you know, smallish bike. I knew somebody this is about 10 years ago, I knew somebody who rode a Gladius and really liked it. It was also quite short. But she said, well, no, I've done my full A licence, I want a 600, because I can ride a 600, I want a 600. And she went out and bought a 600. I think it was a BMW. I can't remember which one though. But it's quite tall, certainly too tall for her. And she rode it off the first time she took it to ride it. She set off down the road, and about 5 minutes later, I happened to be in the garage as she set off, and about 5 minutes later her boyfriend came rushing back, and she'd come off it. I think partly because it was just way too tall. But she came off it hands first, broke both wrists, and I don't think she's ever ridden again. It's kind of that, it does push you down that route, doesn't it? You're doing your test on a 600, you should have a 600. I started with a 600 with the XJ6, and then went on to the 750 with the Z750R, then a couple of thousands including this one, and on the way I've had two 500s as well. Those 500s as a first bike, both were CB500Xs, the only type of bike I've ever bought twice. That's how good they are. You get a lot of people who talk about those bikes, and obviously Graham's leading this pack on a pack of wolves. I think more like chihuahuas, although they're quite aggressive, aren't they? I digress. Yeah, that 500 engine, fantastic motor to start. You know, it's got enough pull on it to keep up with all the traffic. It's got enough grunt to happily cruise on a motorway all day, and it'll do that and still give you 75 to the gallon. I think that if I was starting this all over again, I would start with something smaller. Of course I wouldn't, because I wouldn't have the knowledge I've got now, but I think starting on the 500 like the CB500X would have been a great starting point. I think of Captain Cranky again, I keep mentioning him. Captain Cranky fan club, as well as Hippodrome's fan club over here. But he got the CB500X, must be 10 years ago or something, and he's still riding around on it now. This is just such a fantastic bike. But I think I would have learnt to ride better, faster, if I'd have been on a smaller bike rather than rushing up to the 1000cc. I say rushing, I mean I didn't really rush up to it. It took me a few years and a few bikes to get there, but do I get anything extra out of this bike than I would out of the smaller versions of it? Probably not, because all of my riding is on the road. So what I end up doing is having a bike that's heavier, thirstier, and more expensive to buy and insure over those smaller bikes too. I've had people ask me, would a Z1000 make a good starter bike, a good first bike? I do worry about those people because they've really not thought the problem through. Obviously the answer is no. What are you thinking of? I think any 1000cc, I couldn't really talk about cruisers, but 1000cc is going to be a heavy bike, even even more so probably with a cruiser. But even with a cruiser, you know, generally not going to be a snarling beast that if you give it a little bit too much right hand, it wheelies off down the road. You know, that's not the normal cruiser experience, is it? But I think any bike as a starting point that's 1000cc is probably going to be too much. We have to be honest about it. Some people will probably disagree with me, but if being completely honest about it, you know, I'm an old fart now, I can be completely honest. These things are way too much from a starting point of view. If you've just, yeah, you've been pootling around on your 125 on a CBT, you've then done your test, to go out and buy something like this is a path to either hurting yourself or financial ruin. But I guess we do as bikers kind of, or many bikers, not everyone, see it as a natural progression to get bigger and bigger and bigger in terms of engine power. Funnily enough, my Honda is bigger physically than this bike, substantially bigger, but only has a third of the power. Well, not even a third of the power, crazily. This guy's really desperate to get past, and he's going to pick a stupid place to do it, I'm sure. keep an eye on that mirror, and he just keeps popping into view as if he's about to overtake. And at that point he was actually picking a blind area to try and do it in, to get past 5 bikes on a blind crest. Not very bright, is it? There's actually a gap 2 ahead. I'm not going to give him a gap between me and Jamie for him to then start tailgating Jamie, but we'll probably get in between Jamie and Dave up there. Yeah, is it really sensible, do you think, to go straight on to something with 100 horsepower? It just seems to me that it's not only not sensible, but it also holds you back in your learning, because it's so much easier to learn to ride well on a smaller bike than a bigger one. Maybe not as small as a 125 where everything's a little bit too easy and you can get away with a hell of a lot on it that you wouldn't get away with on a bigger bike. But actually I think I am of that mindset that an A2 bike is a good starting point. Maybe this 3-tier A1, A2 and A-class licence that we have in the UK, and that's mirrored quite a lot over the world in various ways. Here it's 125 with about 12 horsepower is the small one, and then up to 47 horsepower with the A2, and then anything you like with the A. Maybe they've actually got something right in that segregation. Certainly if I was to be able to get on something like this when I was 18, I probably would have, and I probably wouldn't be here now at the grand old age of 51. Yeah, so maybe they got something right there, even if the cost structure of it is wrong, and perhaps a natural progression that was either automatic or with some kind of simpler checkout ride, so that you didn't have to spend what nowadays seems to be at least £1,000 doing a test. I suppose if you're on an A2 and you go into an A, then you know, if you've got the skills, you could probably just do the test without spending all the money on the lessons too. But you're going to need a bike to do it on, and you're not going to be able to ride your own bike there, so no, it's tricky, isn't it? There's definitely improvements could be made, but I think maybe that segregation is right, and maybe we should pay a little bit more attention to it for the new riders. Because you only get that with the wisdom of a little bit of age. And it's certainly something that if some 50-year-old had said to me at the age of 18 or 19 or even 24 doing the DAS, I'd have probably got, nah, I'm getting me 600. Yep, we got a traffic jam, so probably a good point to leave it rather than carry on talking through a traffic jam. So let me know what you think in them there comments. Thanks for watching, everyone. Ride safe, and I'll talk to you all again soon.